Hi everyone, so Tina Pickstock here from Star Property Group. So this is Richard.
Hi everyone.
So I've actually managed to get him to be interviewed. I've tried to do this for months and he kept getting out of it. I've finally managed to get him to do it, so that's all good. And he has absolutely no idea what I'm going to ask him, which is even better.
It's very weird being interviewed by your sister.
So I can do the little sister bit. Obviously, some people out there won't know much about you. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into property?
Yeah, how I got into property was, so I started in the motor trade in 1991 as a 19-year-old.
Long time ago.
Yeah, I am old. I am now 49.
Oh, you do tell everyone that.
So, yeah, long time ago, started in the motor trade, running the business. And then you came to join...
96.
Oh yeah, 96, so 5 years later. So I had 5 years of peace and quiet.
I so mean.
and then you joined 5 years later. And we still have that business now, which is where we are today. It's where our offices are. And then we were kind of a bit disillusioned with pensions and stuff, weren't we?
Yeah.
And how those kind of investments were going. So we kind of looked at our money and kind of thought, we like property. Our parents were into property when they had a building company in the 70s and the 80s. So we thought, yeah, we'll look at property. So 2003, we bought our first house and became landlords. So that was incredibly 17 years ago. Which is...
Will you stop mentioning dates? It makes me look old as well.
You are. And yeah, we bought our first house. Didn't know what we were doing, did we?
No.
We just had a load of money and put it in a house, basically.
Yeah.
And got a mortgage on it, got a buy-to-let mortgage, rented it out. The thing we did get right was that we bought it in a high demand, rental demand area.
Yeah,
so,
we did.
Which is still renting out great to this day, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that stood the test of time, and that was kind of the thing we got right. We didn't get the kind of finance in it brilliantly, but it, it's always worked. It's always cash flowed every month. We've had no voids, have we? Practically.
Other than when we've
refurbed it.
Yeah, just when we've refurbed it. That's the only time.
So that's the only real time we've done that. So I saw that you want to ask me about auctions.
Yes.
So I don't know what you're going to ask me. So my background to auctions is that obviously being in the motor trade, we have always sold cars. Had a workshop, MOT, service repair, all that kind of stuff. And we were a petrol station as well back in the day, but it's just car sales and workshop now.
So how many cars do you think you've probably purchased at auction?
Well, I did a blog on auctions on our website, I think in January.
Okay.
It's many months ago now. And we totted it up then and it was over 5,000. So that was a lot.
So you have done a lot
of bought a lot of cars up and down the country.
Okay, and then what would you say is the general kind of procedure then? So for auction, how does it actually kind of work?
The principles are the same from kind of the crossover from cars to property.
Yep.
It's exactly the same. But what you find is that cars, it's a much faster pace. It's frenetic. It's the kind of the thing where people say, I can't even understand what the auction is saying.
No, I can't.
And you generally, an average pace for a car auction is like 50 to 60 cars an hour. So generally the car is about a minute. So it's quite fast paced. Yeah. And whereas property auctions are much slower. Yeah. It's much more measured. So yeah, but the similarities are still there. The principles are the same. It's just the actual workings of it are slightly different.
And what would you say is easier? Would you say property auctions or car auctions?
I think that's a good question. I prefer, it suits my personality better, the fast pace.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think, I'll probably find that environment easier than a slower paced property auction. Yeah,
and then obviously there's lots of people out there that are looking at buying at properties at auction as a strategy.
Okay.
But I find a lot of investors, they're almost a little bit sort of scared of it.
Right.
So have you got sort of some sort of points or tips or advice that you could
Firstly, due diligence. Obviously, it's changed again with the COVID situation because it's all online now.
Yeah.
So I think the first temptation may be to do everything remotely. Whereas personally, I would always advise to visit the property, go and look at the property yourself, get a feel for it. Don't rely on a video. That is only my opinion. Other people may, but I like to go and see the house myself, get a feel for it, and then it's just about doing the preparation, getting your numbers in line, knowing what your costs are, your refurb, etc. So getting all that lined up. When you get to the auction room, beforehand, obviously, always know what your auction costs are going to be. There's always a fee from the auction house, etc.
Do you tend to find sometimes there can be hidden fees? Has that ever been an issue?
A couple of times when we looked at the bigger auction groups, sometimes they do change the fees on a lot, so you do have to be aware of that.
And can sometimes that be quite late on, or is that always?
I think that can happen quite late on. I think due diligence needs to be up to the day of the sale.
Okay. So you can get amendments as you're going along.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can. So you need to be aware of that. Be aware of the costs, obviously, and then when you get to the auction room, it's just about having a plan really, and then having the discipline to stick to that plan. It's easy to say, not always easy to do.
No.
So yeah, that is the basis of it.
Sorry about that, guys. We're back.
So yeah, sticking to the plan is the hard bit, because it's easy to get emotionally involved, and your emotions kick in, especially around money and feelings, and then when that happens, you can often end up paying maybe more than you intended. So yeah, set that ceiling price where you're comfortable going up to, and then quit. Do not go beyond that.
Have you ever seen people buy something that they actually haven't gone in the room for?
I've personally never done it with a property. I think we bought 2 at auction, or was it 2 or 3?
2, I think. Off the top of my head.
Anyway, I've never done it with a property. I did it with cars in the early days, where I'd be emotionally involved and pay more than I should have. You kind of learn from those mistakes. You become emotionally involved, and you always end up with the one more bid syndrome. I'll just bid one more. I'll just bid one more. I'll just bid one more. It's a dangerous game to play. It really is. Set a limit. Do your due diligence. Stick to that limit.
You might be surprised to know I'm rubbish at auctions. I get way too emotionally involved, don't I?
I remember one time you came with a car auction to me and with me, and we were. I can't even remember where you came. It would have been very unusual, and you were only in there like 30 seconds, and the auctioneer immediately said, "Are you bidding, madam?" Because you were flailing your arms around it.
Because I do use my hands a lot when I'm talking, so it was like, oh no, she's not coming again.
No, she's not with me.
Embarrassing you like normal. Well, that's what little sisters do, isn't it? Any of you out there, little sisters, that's what you do. You annoy your big brothers, don't you?
Yeah, you're good at it.
I am good at it. So, is there one particular mistake that you see people make that you could?
I think getting carried away with the bidding is the obvious one. And then you have to be. I think with properties, a lot of them are in the auction for a reason. Sometimes it is for a quick sale. Often it's because they've got multiple faults. So I think you need to be aware of that and go into it with your eyes open, and
So due diligence.
Due diligence,
and
preparation.
Mindset.
And then stick to your plan in the room. Don't get emotionally involved. And if you stick to those principles, you'll generally be fine. Absolutely.
And would you say that now, obviously, like you've said, that's more getting emotionally charged if you're in the room at an auction, but obviously now a lot more of them are online. Do you think that makes it easier?
I think it's easier from an emotional point of view. Because you're at home, say, or in the office, bidding remotely, I think is easier than being in the kind of atmosphere of a room. Especially, I think property auctions have can often have quite a good energy in the room, and you can get wrapped up in that. Car auctions have got a lot of energy because it's very busy and very frenetic. So yeah, I think remote actually helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
To keep your emotions in check and stick to your plan.
I remember you saying to me when you first started going to the property ones, the difference and going from something that's so fast paced to so slow.
The first property, I was quite shocked the first time I went how sedentary it was in comparison to the cars.
It seems to take 10 minutes just to do one property, and I'm
it does. But I suppose they are big sums of money. Depends on what kind of cars you buy.
And you can generally understand them as well.
Yeah, absolutely, which helps, of course. So yeah, I think those are the basic principles of auctions.
Thank you. So obviously if you want to contact Richard about anything to do with auctions, you can get us on Instagram and Facebook. We are at Star Property Group. Richard's got a personal LinkedIn.
Sure.
So feel free, any of you, to message us with any queries or anything if any of you want any help. And I'll let him go then now and carry on with his next viewings, because I've had to slot in between his viewings. So I'll see you all soon, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.